and a very warm welcome to the 9th edition of Kohler Bold Art, powered by PechaKucha. What started off as a small platform to exchange views amongst the design community has now grown into an annual event of national scale, where the best of minds in architecture and design industry present their views in PechaKucha style. In 2020, we were lucky to have the Women's Day special PechaKucha before COVID took over the world. This year, we are back with 5 of the biggest names in architecture who have inspired thousands of youngsters to pursue architecture and interior design as a vocation. This year, the chosen theme for the event is Even Footing for Eves. While the world over there is a conversation about women not getting their due, there are some, on the other hand, who by circumstances and sheer grit have gone far beyond this struggle. For them, it is not about getting even. In fact, even is normal and maybe even boring for some. And so they go beyond to create the uneven. Today, 8 outstanding women will be presenting their ideas before us. Amrita Guha, Kyana Patel, Rupande Shah, Usha Ramurajan, Viraj Patki, Gul Panag, Aditi Mittal, and Sonal Singh. So let's hit it off, starting with Sonal Singh. She's a senior product designer at Kohler, leading faucet category and working towards solutions to aid gracious living with leading aesthetics and innovation. Over to you, Sonal, for the presentation.
Yes, I kick hard. So when I was little in a karate class once, a few older boys asked me, "Don't you have enough girlfriends to play dolls with?" That made me question, was I not being normal? That was my first experience of being told what I could and couldn't do. So me in that class was the doings of my mother. I'm thankful that she encouraged me or sometimes literally dragged me out of my bed to all kinds of activities under the sun. I used to wonder, what was she preparing me for? She is a big part of the reason how I live my life on my terms. So I'm often asked for advice from students, especially younger women, uncertain about their careers. These are the same doubts women grappled with when I started about 10 years ago. Will they ever be as good as men? I would tell them and my younger self in that karate class that we've been conditioned to believe a certain way. These can be unlearned if we learn to believe in ourselves and be ourselves.
Many thanks for that presentation. Sonal, I'd like to ask you a quick question now. What was the first thing, Sonal, that came to your mind when this theme was thrown at you?
So my take on the theme was I wanted to use all the uneven experiences in my life and the uneven I've created in my life to create unevenness for the young female designer who's going to enter this field and have all the equal opportunities as any man entering the field.
Many thanks, Sonal. Let's now move to our participants. And we are starting with Usha Ramurajan. Usha is one of the most renowned architects from Pune, starting her journey 28 years back after her degree from Anna University. In fact, she established the Landmark Design Group in 1993. The team at LDG comprises architects, interior designers, 3D visualizers, and architectural assistants. Her stance is that it is the journey that is most important. Make the best of the even or uneven, whatever appears on your path, and cherish the journey. Over to Usha now for her presentation.
Don't I rue that day when I said yes, okay, to speak on even to uneven? Wonder who thought that up? Oh God in heaven, where do I start? Even or uneven? With my life ever so mundane, never rocked ever, not a single hurricane. Where do I look for a thought so profound that I can hold you, the audience, spellbound? When I look back a jot, I see I've traveled much more than I sought. The distant horizon beckons, what it holds I can't reckon. Though right now I can't but help a little smile, one for every trodden mile.
Usha, if I may, I would like to know from you what has been your biggest learning experience and what's your plan ahead?
So the biggest learning is that learning almost never ends and it shouldn't stop. So especially because we're in the field of sustainable design, even things like how the sun moves in the sky or how the wind flows, how the earth conducts heat, all of this can actually become inspiration for your design. And things like science, geology, engineering, technology, all of these have an important role to play in design. And increasingly, the design process itself is becoming more knowledge based and collaborative. So every day is full of learning.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Usha. We'll move on to our next outstanding personality of day, Viraj Patki. Viraj is an alumnus of the Academy of Architecture and Bombay International School. Viraj has developed a reputation of being an architect who consistently pushes the boundaries of design for PG Patki architects. Over to you, Viraj, for your presentation.
I've always ever done what I wanted to, what I needed to do. Breaking a glass ceiling never crossed my mind. So let's not give anyone the power to turn our sky into a glass ceiling. History is filled with examples of great women who have challenged the norm, forged their own path, and inspired us. For me, I'm truly inspired by the women I see around me every day. The nurturing of my mother, the determination of my team, the grit of the fisherwoman down the street. There's so much to learn from so many of them. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do. I saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much, much more. I did it. I did it my way.
And my way requires that bit of self-confidence as well, doesn't it, Viraj? Many thanks for that presentation, Viraj. But my question to you is, again, with regards to the stance that you have taken. Does my way put that much more pressure on a person to deliver? Can it lead to a burnout?
No, Maha, I don't think it will lead to a burnout simply because you are choosing what you want to do. You are charting your course. You're pacing yourself. And like I said in my presentation, choice itself is a privilege. The minute you've made that choice for yourself, I think you can make it all happen.
That's a very important point that has been made there by Viraj. Let me now move on to our next speaker and the person who will be presenting the PPT next. That's Rupande Shah. Rupande Shah and Associates, a boutique design that is a firm based out of Kolkata, is committed to excellence in customized design projects. Rupande Shah and Associates are strongly motivated with contemporary, imaginative, and client-specific designs. Rupande, over to you now.
Take a clear look at this gentleman and list out the first 5 professions that come to your mind. The first 5 professions that you think he would be involved with. Take a moment and make a note of them. And you will be surprised what happens. The first reaction that most people gave me was that, oh, he's a rock star, or maybe an artist, a DJ, or a sculptor, something into the creative field. But no, he's a doctor. It's time we open up these rose-tinted glasses that we wear and try and see things the way we actually should be, seeing things from different perspectives to be able to find design solutions and design decisions in the right way. In life, all of us wear a lot of masks. We have different masks, one of maybe a very disciplined professional, a loving mother, a friend to a loving sister, and maybe a fantastic soulmate to our lifelong companion. But what do? We use these masks for different occasions.
One quick question to you, Rupande. Were you ever looked through rose-tinted glasses of perception in your area of work?
Of course. I think it began very early in my life when I decided to take architecture as a career. And I had some family members, in fact, scoff at that idea, saying that, oh, female architect, you're never going to last in the field. But I did prove them wrong, and I went on to do my, not just my bachelor's, but my master's. And when I started my practice in Calcutta, which has a very strong old craftsmanship group of people who work there, they saw this 20-year plus woman coming into the field and try and teach them new technology or new methods of building. And at those points also, there were a lot of blocks that came across my way. And it was a process, and it was a struggle to try and tell them and try and prove to myself and to prove to them that, you don't have to think that just because we are women, that we cannot be better thinkers than men are. So it did take a little bit of an effort at that point. But I think by now, most women have carved their way and made a space for themselves. I'm talking about 28, 30 years ago. So I think people's perspective of our profession has changed a lot today. And I'm quite thankful for it. And this journey has taught me a lot.
Absolutely. Way to go, Rupandimai. Thanks for speaking with us, joining us, and bringing to us that wonderful presentation of yours. Our next guest is witty, smart, and she makes us laugh. But most importantly, she makes us think about issues that we even hesitate about talking in public. As a result, issues that tend to get buried deep under layers of social niceties are brought out by her. Aditi Mittal is a stand-up comedian, one of the first few women in India to take to stand-up comedy professionally. Aditi carved a place for herself with her bold take on taboo issues. We are privileged to be joined by Aditi today on the event. Aditi, over to you.
Tonight's theme is to go from even to uneven, right? Because the truth is, the world is uneven, but you don't want to get even with anyone because even is boring. My take is that we should have a new kind of uneven. Hear me out. Every time someone talks about Women's Day, someone will always show up and say, okay, Women's Day is fine, but what about Men's Day? The answer to that is there is a Men's Day, and it's every day.
Aditi, thank you so much. It's most difficult to use humor to convey a meaningful message, and you've taken on that tough task. Amrita Guha, a co-founder and design principal at United Design, a New Delhi-based multidisciplinary design practice. Her work spans the dominance of architecture, interior design, furniture, and product design. She's committed to the revival of craft and artisanal ingenuity, authenticity, and sustainable approach to projects and products. Humor is what she resorts to for handling the unevenness of her personal and professional life. Over to you, Amrita.
We Indians have the most creative nicknames. My nephew named E.T., since my sister in law felt that the ultrasound image reminded her of Spielberg's character. Alphabetically, post that arrived FT, Financial Times, which they apparently faced, and his name stayed to tell the tale. So, humor is my true savior in personal or professional life. On your right is who my children think I am, but strictly in my imagination. On your left is Emi Chua, the tiger mother, who I aspire to be when battle lines are drawn. I have two teenage boys. Let's call them A and B. I was reprimanded for presenting terrible ideas. Since their adolescent mind is going through puberty, says B, it's uncool to project a badass image of an Eve. So, as an ode to them, instead of my dialogue, look at the glass half full, I would modify it to what Thanos says. Perfectly balanced as all things should be.
There's one question I would like to ask, Amrita. You extensively use humor, as you just pointed out, and it just gets you by as well. But what is the other side to humor? I mean, that can be one side of the coin. What's the other?
So, humor is the gadget that aids my credo. But honestly, we exist because of clients. So, every project and every client that teaches you valuable lessons of do's and don'ts in your life. The clients are at a very vulnerable stage. where their hard-earned money is at stake. One has to understand and one has to be in their shoes as well. However, in spite of my banter, the on the lighter side of the challenges that we face, and I'm sure every woman faces, there are stories of grit and determination that defines us. Deadlines to be made in terms of design decisions, manufacturing, one snag in collaboration with a vendor or a craftsman can jeopardize the entire chain. uh, Bridal Asia, which we participated in the year 2000, was one of our early projects, and we learned a huge lesson from that in terms of less is more, whereas capacity is concerned.
Wonderful thought to leave your conversation there with. Let me now move on to our next speaker, that is Kana Patel. Kana Patel is an architect and interior designer with over 30 years of professional experience. She's the chairperson, 8CP Interior Design Private Limited, widely regarded as a reputable and professionally managed firm. As for today's theme, Kana's stand is that she has addressed the even and uneven in circular fashion. Her aim was never to follow that cycle or to break it. Her aim was simply to be able to find meaning in her work through the circular journey of even to uneven and then back to even. Over to you, Kana, for your presentation.
When I'm formally introduced, it is Kana Patel, an architect and interior designer with over 30 years of professional experience and a powerful portfolio of more than 300 projects. Widely known for my signature style for interiors across the country. As flattering as it may sound, but it often tends to overlook the story behind my journey. The story that will help foster a connection between you and me. I'm here today to share that story through the spectacles of eaves, even to uneven. And this aspect must be carried forward in our designs. I aim to create spaces that are an extension of our nature, blurring the distinction between in and out, and giving the users a chance to relive their moments.
Many thanks, Kana. And there's a question for you from the audience now. What is that piece of advice that you have for young designers?
Well, truly speaking, young people don't like advice, but still, if I'm asked, I'm going to give one. So my only advice to young designers is you need to take your profession as seriously as any medical profession or a lawyer. We need to think high about ourselves. We need to make sure that our first 4 or 5 years of our career, we learn under a powerful mentor before we consider flying on our own.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Kana, for sharing that piece of advice. And finally, let's now go across to Gul Panag, who needs no introduction, really. She's best known as an actor and a former Miss India, but that's only one aspect of her personality. She's broken so many stereotypes since she came into the limelight that she's stood out amongst many. And that gets reflected in her work as well as her public utterances. Gul's take on the theme today is a path breaker and a path creator. Her core message is break the stereotype and identify the springboard. Embrace the uneven as a springboard to a world of opportunities that leads to a purpose. Over to you now, Gul.
2 words. You can't. What do these words do to you? Do you really think you can't? Or do you take a leap in the opposite direction? Me, I put the reverse gear and think, how hard can that be? My goals were clear. Ever since I was 5, amongst the many, many things that I wanted to do, I also wanted to be Miss India. When I realized the strength of the springboard, I knew what it could bring for me. Vision, voice, visibility, and credibility. Yes, I have traveled the uneven road and continue to do so. Taken detours. I may not have always been able to take the intended road each time, but I sure have ended up where I intended.
As wonderful as always, Gul. Many thanks. Now, the natural question that comes to my mind, Gul, is that there must be so many young girls looking up to you. as an inspiration. Is there any one mantra that you can share with them?
Whenever you're in doubt, you must always choose to be a role model, because you may have opportunity that several others may just be dreaming about. So in choosing how to act at any given point of time, it's very important that one is always a role model, because in doing so, you empower and become the wind beneath somebody else's wings.
Many thanks, Kul. Your journey has been inspiring, and so has your presentation today. With that, we'll close today's event, but not before thanking all the brilliant women who made this event what it was. Absolutely stimulating. Many thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.